Hi and welcome to our part 6 of building an image gallery app in Python. So let's start by doing a short recap. On our previous video, let me share my window. On our previous video, we were able to view each image independently. By independently, I mean this is where a user selects an image and he or she is directed to another page where he or she can edit the image. But we were working on the overall look of that page and adding buttons. So in terms of the buttons we added a previous button and also a next button, which were used to control which image appears. Let me illustrate. So when we select an image, it takes us to this page. This is our image view. We worked on our next button and our previous button, which we used to move to the next and also to the previous. And aside from that, we also worked on our back button, which is used to close this window. But on today's video, we're going to discuss how we can actually crop an image using this app, as you can see. So once you select an image, let me choose the image you're going to use. Once we select an image, you can see we also created a toolbar. So this toolbar consists of 4 buttons, which is a crop button, an horizontal flip, and a vertical flip. And lastly, a draw button. Okay. So we're actually working on the crop button. Let me show you how it works before I actually dive into explaining the code. So once you select, it brings up an orange border, which on hovering changes the arrow, helping you resize. So you'll drag it to wherever you want. In my case, I want to select this plate. And finally, this edge. Okay. So once you've selected the part that you want to crop, you just come and press save. So after pressing save, you can see it crops the image and then displays it for you. And other than that, it actually adds this image to the list to the rows we had created back here. Let me show you. As you can actually note, it has started reloading. It does that per row. And finally, when it reaches this last image, it will actually display the image right in front of this. So how did we get to this? Before explaining, I'd like you to see what happens. Although it's a bit slow. You can see it actually appears here right before the image. And another thing I haven't mentioned, once you click an image, it actually changes the name of our window to the name of your image. So you can note, as I click on this button, as I move towards the next image, the name actually changes. You can actually see the difference on top here. This is known as the title bar. So how did we work around this? So as you can actually see, we've actually changed how we'll be doing our videos, since showing the whole process of writing the code is a bit tedious and it involves long hours of debugging. So to make this simple, we'd rather create a 30 minutes video explaining how the code works and also provide a link to the code so that you can go through it. And where you don't understand, make sure to put a comment. I'll reply. So inside our image view, if you actually don't have this code, you can actually check the link in the description below. You'll find it on my GitHub page, MRG, Mr. G. So I'll actually explain as I use this. So what this happens is that immediately you click on the crop, it actually displays an orange border. How did you achieve this? You remember first, to display an image, you needed a canvas. For those who are familiar to Tkinter, this is actually easier. But for those who are not familiar, let me go a little bit in depth. So a canvas is basically used to draw shapes and images and are a lot more flexible towards the user since you can make adjustments. So in our case, we drew our image, and for us to put this orange border, we first had to find the coordinates. So items on a canvas are actually placed according to their coordinates. So we start by getting the coordinates of our image and creating a rectangle or a square that has the same coordinates. By having the same coordinates, it has the same width and height, meaning that it covers the image all round. But to make the selection, we need to be able to move these borders. So we get the movement of the cursor and detect when it's on top of this line. If it's on top of the top line, you can see the arrow changes or the bottom. Whereas on the right and left border, you can also see it changes, but the cursor is different towards the previous one. And once the cursor changes, you can actually double click to move the line. So in order to achieve all this, you need to understand events. We actually did events on our previous video. So once I right click, you can see as I move my cursor, the line follows. And when I stop clicking, you see if I scroll, if I move the cursor, it doesn't follow. So that's what happens also to this other image. You can see it moves, even the top, even the bottom. And finally, once you've selected the area you'd like, you finish by clicking on save. Once you click on save, it takes the image, then crops the image, then displays your image. So to handle images, in Python, we mostly prefer Pillow. Pillow is a library that's mainly used for images. That is what helps us to crop our image. And I'll repeat that example. So I'll choose another picture. Let me see. Maybe this. So once you click on this, it gets the coordinates of the image, then uses the same coordinates to create a rectangle that covers. So you can actually see that our border is orange in color. I actually chose orange to make it visible in cases where we have both dark or bright colors. But there might actually be an issue where the image is actually orange, meaning we won't actually be able to differentiate. But in the meantime, you'll have to work with this. So once it shows you the orange border, You hover on top until it changes the cursor. Then you double click to move the cursor. So by this, we have banded an event. It's called a motion event that gets the position of our cursor, then changes the coordinates of the rectangle to be in the same position as our cursor. So I'll move it maybe up to here. Then I'll also change this. Then this other side also. And so after doing all this, once we after doing all this, we click on save. So when you click on save, it gets the coordinates of your image of the orange border, then uses those coordinates to crop. So we've used pillow to crop, and for you to crop, you need to give it the coordinates of the specific part you want to crop out of the image, and that's how we achieve that. Thanks for staying tuned. Let's meet in the next video. I'll be releasing it soon. Not be much of a delay as in this case. And to view and to get the code, click the link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification for you to be notified once I release the part 7. Thank you for staying tuned. Let's meet in the next video.